Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's Chief Red here, and we're going to switch it up today for the first time in a while. Battlefield might be back. October is going to be a good month because we might be back. I don't want to speak too soon, but it's looking promising. I'm not going to lie to y'all. So I wanted to give a little bit of a review on the open beta that we just had over the last couple weekends. And I want to give my thoughts and opinions on the overall state of what I hope the game is going to be. But before we get started, y'all hit that like and subscribe. You know the drill. Appreciate all the support. And let's talk about it. Ultimately, I want to start with just kind of a pros versus cons breakdown and, what I really enjoyed about the game versus what I hope gets improved with the release of the game. And then I'll lead into kind of like my impressions on the map designs. And then I'll finish off with, kind of a summary, and that'll be it. So starting with the pros of the game, the things that I thought were pretty good. Number one, I think this beta was pretty smooth for a beta. Like there weren't a lot of glaring issues that I really found with the beta. Obviously, there's the glitches, and there's going to be the weird connection issues, which we'll talk about in the con section. But for the pros, like number one, I think the grittiness is back, right? The number one overarching question that everybody's going to have, if you've played Battlefield before, is this game going to get us back in the right direction? Like, are we going back to the BF3 days and BF4 days that we all know and love, right? Those were the peak Battlefield days, and we want to get back to that point. So I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. I obviously can't say, oh yeah, we're 100% there because I haven't seen the entire game, right? I don't know the other maps. I don't know what they're going to tweak and how it's going to play out once launch happens. But overall, the grittiness is back, right? You've got the generic soldiers. You don't have these operators, these random cartoony operators and the dancing and the smiling and all that stuff. It is very grounded, right? And that's the thing that that's the thing we've been looking for a long time, right? Um, so I definitely think that part is back. The graphics are fine, no problems there. And the destruction is back, right? I don't think Battlefield 2042 had much destruction, if any at all. They were too busy putting tornadoes in there, right? But the thing is that we got that destruction back. You can destroy the buildings, you can blow up tanks, and you'll see stuff ricochet off of things and destroy buildings in that way. You can jump through windows and you can do all this kind of stuff that we haven't seen in a long time. So that part feels great, right? No complaints there. I think a lot of people have been looking for that for a long time. So the next piece that I want to talk about is the gunplay and the movement. And I think both of these were fine. I don't know what other people feel, but I didn't have any issues with the gunplay. I think hit detection was really solid. I didn't really have any issues with feeling like, my bullets weren't registering or anything like that. Like it felt really good. It felt good to shoot. And, maybe the time to kill might have been a little slow on my side. And, the time to kill was a little faster on the other side. But honestly, I think that's just every game is going to feel like that just because it feels like guys can shoot you in 2 to 3 bullets and it takes you like, 7, but I think that's the case on every shooter, to be honest, and who knows, could be a skill issue. But ultimately, it felt fine. And I think that overall, the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers definitely help with that, because it makes the gun feel like it has some weight to it. And the same way it helps with that, it also helps with the movement. From the jump, weekend one, I knew like, okay, yeah, this movement feels way better. And you could do things like slide and dive, but you're not sliding and diving, halfway across the map. It's not something that feels super arcadey, but you can still do it to use it to your advantage if you needed to. But it's not gonna like put somebody in an advantage because it's just with this unrealistic sliding or anything like that. Like, so the movement feels really good. Here again, the haptics, all of that stuff, you can feel it. So it makes your character feel like they have weight to them. So, overall, like I think that all feels fine. Now, the last piece of this section that I want to talk about is the team play, right? This is something that really never left Battlefield per se, but it is something that, you're not going to get in other first person shooters, really. You get a little bit of team play in Call of Duty, you get a little bit maybe in a Fortnite or something like that. But in this one, it is true team play. And this beta was no exception, right? Because you have those moments where you have to have certain pieces, right? You have to have certain roles on the team, or else you're not going to be able to get things done. When you encounter a tank, you better have an engineer. Or if you're in a tank, you better have an engineer that can repair you, right? And you can't always depend on randoms. So you have to have kind of the different roles in your squad, because if you're all running the same thing, you're just going to be outgunned or outnumbered, right? If you are trying to lone wolf it as an assault person, like, you're not going to get very far because it doesn't carry that much ammo, and you better have a support guy with you, right? So the team play aspect is great, and it's something that, is what makes Battlefield, right? So add that to the gunplay and the movement and how modern and clean it feels. Add that to the grittiness and the destruction, and we've got a potential really solid Battlefield in the making. Now, let's talk about some of the cons that, some of the things that I didn't like. First of all, the menus, the settings menus are way too cumbersome. Like, it's way too much going on. And it's really weird because the old Battlefields were kind of just like this. Like, they give you a lot of options and a lot of customization, which is really good. But it also feels like it takes a lot to kind of go through them. Like, it's a lot of sub menus. And I don't remember the old ones being this crazy. So, and I might be exaggerating. It's not like it's like impossible to go through, right? But it just feels like there's way too many sub menus. And then there's things like for me, I like to change my button layouts, right? So if you go into the button layouts, and I'm not even talking about the specific buttons themselves, like, I don't need to change all the different buttons. I just like to flip my melee and crouch buttons. And that's just the different, button preset. They don't give you the layout of the buttons on the same screen. So you have to kind of remember what it is and just pick one and then go look and see if the button layout is what you need. And I don't like that, why not make it a little easier on us? I mean, I'm kind of nitpicking, but to be honest, that's just kind of an annoyance more than anything. But I don't know. It just felt like the menus there was just a lot going on. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting old. Now, the other thing is the matchmaking. So matchmaking was a little weird. If you're in a party, it was a little annoying trying to get into a game sometimes, because sometimes it will put you in a different game. There's three of us will make it in and the fourth person's in a whole different game, or either just wouldn't make it in at all. Like the game could just be frozen and you have to close app. And then there was times we try and reload in and we couldn't do it. So we all had to close app. It was just weird, but that's to be expected with a beta. So I'm not too mad at that. It's just, hopefully it's fixed for the, actual launch. The other thing was, when you're in a squad, I would have liked to have seen the Call of Duty function where you can actually pull your members out of the game at the same time. Because there's times when, you want to leave a game or you have to, if somebody didn't make it in, then it's okay, we got to all quit to menu. And that's just kind of annoying, right? You should have the option to be able to pull everybody out at one time. And that's just, here again, another little nice to have annoyance type thing, but it is what it is. Now, the other con that I have is there are some exploits in the game. People found a way to get on the roofs in Siege of Cairo, which was kind of annoying. I think that hopefully, hopefully they patch that if it's not supposed to be in the game. If it is supposed to be in the game, then sure, whatever. But if it's not supposed to be in there, please take that out. And the other thing is shotguns. Shotguns and snipers are annoying. If you're a shotgun user and a sniper, you annoy me. And it's fine. I know I'm an old head. It's a skill issue. I know. Bring it on. But here's the deal. Snipers is what it is, right? Because I actually kind of have fun sniping on this game. So I can't talk too much about the snipers. But on the shotguns, they are way too overpowered. They got way too much range. They're already a one-shot kill. So they just need to tweak the range on them. I think if they tweak the range on them a little bit, it'll be fine. But they're a little overpowered. I don't like shotguns, guys. I just don't. They're just, I'm not a fan. So if you are a shotgun user, pull out your M4 and go head up with me. And then you can talk. But anyway, all right. So that's pretty much it on the cons. I didn't have a lot. Like I said, it was a pretty smooth beta. So, a lot of the things that I mentioned were things that I hope that they kind of tweak rather than fix. Some things obviously need to be fixed, but for the most part, pretty solid. All right, now moving on to the last piece, we're going to talk maps. Now, maps, this is a big discussion point right now because, a lot of people, I feel like, have probably similar issues to what I had with it. And I wouldn't even say that it's an issue necessarily. I do think that the maps are solid. Okay. One of the things that I think I have a problem with the most is that they were a little small for me. But in the past, we've had issues, especially on 2042, where the maps were just way too big and the player count was too big, right? They just went like way too far in the opposite direction from the old games. And now it seems like they're trying to scale it down a little too much. But at the same time, as far as I understand, it could have been, a strategic choice because the smaller maps are a little bit less strenuous on the servers. So, they might have just done that just to save the servers for the beta, right? So, I mean, if that's the case, then fine. I don't have a problem with that at all. And I know that once we get the full game, we'll be able to see, I believe they said they have 2 large scale maps plus, Operation Firestorm from BF3, which is great. That was one of my favorite maps. But in terms of the specific maps, we got Iberian Offensive, Liberation Peak, and Siege of Cairo weekend 1. And then weekend 2, they added in Empire State. Now, as far as the specifics, Iberian Offensive was not my favorite map, but I also didn't hate it. Like, it was like right in the middle for me. And it was a medium-sized map, pretty solid, but it just, it was just kind of there. I kind of got tired of playing it after a while, but it was solid. Like, I didn't really hate this map. I didn't play too many other modes on it. I think the only mode I really did play on this map probably was Conquest. But it was like, right in the middle. Liberation Peak was one of those maps that I feel like you either love or you hate it. And this one for Conquest, I'm not the biggest fan of because it's just a sniper's haven, right? Which is fine because I get that's kind of the point, probably, because it's the side of a mountain. But it's just the fact that depending on what side you start on, you might be screwed. Like, if you start on that alpha flag, you're going to have snipers just looking at you all game. But if you start on Foxtrot, then you got the vantage point. So it's a little weird. Like, you could like it or hate it depending on what side you come on. Now, on Breakthrough or Rush, map is great. I don't have a problem with it because you're condensed to a specific part of the map at a time. And I don't have a problem with that. Now, Siege of Cairo, absolutely love this map. This was my favorite map of the weekend and absolutely loved it. I mean, I like everything about it. I think it's a great size. I think that, I don't know, it just flows really well. I really enjoy this map and I love to play Siege of Cairo, but I've always liked these type of maps anyway. Like, this map kind of reminds me of, I don't know, maybe Zavod or something. Like, this map is very like, it's not that it's linear, but it just is flat. Like, there's nothing, there's no choppers on it. So it's like, it's very much like you just deal with the tanks. You go from flag to flag, very straightforward. So I really like this one. Now, when you have something like Empire State, this is where I started to get a little concerned because Empire State, that was actually one of the maps that I thought that I would really like coming in. And I don't like it at all. Like, it's not as bad on Breakthrough. It's not as bad on Breakthrough, but on Conquest, this map is terrible for Conquest. I'm sorry. It is way too small for Conquest. It's too crammed. It's too crowded. It's too much going on for my liking. Now, eventually, we did get used to it to the point where we can like kind of understand like and maneuver and find our way around. But those first few matches, I just was not enjoying this map at all. I think it's just too small. And it feels very Call of Duty-ish, which is fine. Like, you're going to have a variety. You need the large, the medium, and the small, but it's just, this map just didn't do it for me. and they do have another New York map that's called Manhattan Bridge. So I'm curious to see what that one looks like and how it's going to look different than Empire State. But I don't know. I don't know about this one. Now, I am excited to see what the large maps look like. I think there's two of those. And then they're going to bring Firestorm back, which is great. There's other maps that I wish they would bring back. Like, I would love to see Metro make a return. I would love to see Zavod from Battlefield 4. That was one of my favorites. And Parasail Storm is another. And Gulf of Oman with the Sandstorm were some maps that were favorites of mine as well. So there's a lot. I mean, Battlefield 3 and 4 had some really, really great legendary maps on them. So they really could bring back all those if they would just wanted to, but they're not going to do that. But ultimately, I think people were just kind of taken aback because they gave us small maps. But like I said, that could have just been because they wanted to kind of preserve the server integrity a little bit. So, who knows? But overall, I think it was a really, really smooth beta. And like I said, I don't want to speak too soon, y'all, but we might be back. October is going to be a good month. And, I got my squad back. I'm real excited about that. I'm talking guys I haven't talked to in over 10 years, so the original Battlefield squad is back and I'm real excited about that. It's going to be a good year, and it is a good year to skip 2K because I'm going to be on Battlefield a lot. And you guys are going to hear from me. You're going to hear from the rest of the squad come October 10th. So y'all let me know y'all's thoughts. If you played the beta, what did you think? If you didn't play the beta, hopefully I was able to answer some questions for you and help you potentially come to a decision come October. But I'm going to be on it heavy, and, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. As usual, appreciate you sticking around, and y'all take it easy.